Now at this stage we've used the automatic aspect, or we used the actual the eyedropper tool to get the white balance right. Now you can manually alter the lift, which would be the darkest point in the image, as in how dark the darkest point of the image goes, and then the gain, which controls how light the lightest part of the image goes. So if you increase by dragging this wheel to the left and right, you'll see what's called clipping in terms of the whites in, or the brightest part of the image basically exceeding the threshold of the video file itself. You get clipping. Visually it's very easy to notice this. So I'm just going to press undo for a minute and go back to that. In fact, I'll just press the reset button. So if you feel that you need to pull up the balance of the brightness a touch, you can do that here, and then choosing what is black, you can do that here too. Now there are two other color pickers. So if I have a point of black reference in here, that's an old grey t-shirt, it was black, but it's not a reliable reference point. Maybe up here could be classed as black. There's color picker tools for the black point, and then there's a color picker tool again for a white point too, which is a bit too hot. It's not a great reference for this particular file. So other controls you may want to try and customize just to try and get the sense of range of dark and light, and also the balance, or the linearity between the lowest the lowest brightness and the highest brightness, is to change the contrast control. So you'll see what's actually going on in terms of how things look. I mean, that in terms of the perspective of the foreground and the background is interesting, but if you look at this actual readout in terms of the highest and the lowest RGB values, they're at the top and the bottom of the actual file amount. So you do want to make sure that you then offset that to make sure that you're not, again, clipping the lowest and highest points too, and then maybe alter the contrast again. I'm doing my best with this monitor at the moment. Ordinarily, if I was going to do any of this, I'd rely more on my Mac built-in screen, because I know it's a better reference for me in terms of its quality, but also the fact I know that screen really well. So we've looked at automatic white balancing, the color picker for white balancing, and then we've looked at the individual white and black balancing and how we can manually change the gain controls for lifting and gain, which is basically the shadows and the highlights. So I'm happy with my Cam A balance at the moment, and in a standalone sense, I'm happy with the Cam B as well. I want to compare the two now. So I'm going to put on a split screen mode, which is this option up here. And you can choose which way it splits the screen depending on the nature of what's in each shot to try and get the best match between the two. So I've got, let's get my Cam B footage in that one. And I'm just going to go and find, take this off for a minute. I'm just going to try and find a good still to take, grab still from my Cam A footage. So I'll put it into split screen again. In fact, let's do the same with Cam B. So I've got a usable shot there too. Okay, so what I can do now is if I just focus on, let's go for that there, and then that on the right, I can try and now rebalance aspects of my Cam B to look closer to the balance of Cam A. They're not going to look the same. They're very different cameras, so they're not going to suddenly look just as sharp as each other and so on, but I can at least get my brightness of the video comparably the same as the other. So in order to do that, I'm going to have a look at the gain control of Cam B and increase that. Try and adjust my contrast. as well. Try to bring up the highlights a little bit more to looking comparable. It's a little bit hot there. I can see there's a little bit too much of a consistent brightness on my face. So that's probably as bright or close as I'm going to get that in terms of these two. So I can go back to my timeline if I want to quickly check this. Between the two, that's looking good. That's looking good. So another thing to bear in mind when we're color grading is we can choose to render the color output to the render cache as well. So if we do that, because of the amount of adjustments I've got on there, it's in automatic render cache mode, but it is taking the time to re-render those and commit them to the file. So at this stage, I'm happy with how Cam A and Cam B look and how I've got them treated. And I may want to apply this to various other footage that I've got that we're taking the same setup, same camera. So I'm going to actually just get rid of all these reference points that I used just to get to where I am now. And I'm going to load in, let's just take it out of the split view. I'm going to go to a good point of this video and I'm going to create a still and use this as my final reference point. So let's do change label and then final Cam A ref. Same for Cam B. Grab still. Change the label, so final Cam B ref. And then I can select my next Cam A footage, select the correct reference point, and then apply that grade. Same here, just have those two highlighted and apply grade as well. So I'm creating a consistency between all the multiple bits of footage I might have from that same camera on that same day's setup. Let me just show you that in the larger context of a much busier timeline with many more video assets from different parts of the shoot. So I'm going for my final Cam A reference grade again, and then I'm just going to highlight, just holding Command, I'm going to highlight everything in here that is Cam A footage. Okay, so same thing, apply grade, and you'll notice that they all get applied. Cam B, apply grade. You see all that footage has been given that treatment. This video has looked at the basics of color correction, what color correction is, when you might want to apply it, how you can apply it, and then ways you can apply a color correction workflow to get all of your video footage to match and have continuity.